The courtroom was quiet, heavy with a judgment that hung in the air long before any verdict was spoken. At the front, high above everyone, sat Judge Harold Whitman. After 25 years on the bench, he believed he'd seen it all. To him, patterns mattered more than people. And some patterns, in his mind, were already set in stone. Case number 4172. The bailiff's voice boomed. State versus Alicia Brown. A slim black teenage girl stood up. Her orange jumpsuit was a size too big, chains clinking softly with her every move. Her posture was straight, her face calm, almost unreadable. She wasn't scared or angry, which made the judge frown. He peered down at her, flipping open the case file with disinterest. "Miss Brown," he said, his tone slow and condescending, "you're charged with petty theft and resisting arrest. 17 years old and already familiar with this courtroom. Disappointing, but not surprising." Alicia said nothing. The judge leaned back. "Let me guess," he continued, sarcasm dripping from his voice. "Bad influences, bad decisions, and absolutely no accountability." But before he could finish, a clear, steady voice cut through the silence. The courtroom settled back into its rigid silence as Judge Whitman adjusted himself behind the bench. Recess had done nothing to cool his temper. In fact, it had given him time to decide exactly how far he could push the girl standing before him. Alicia Brown remained still, hands clasped, eyes forward, her posture respectful enough to be unimpeachable. Yet something about her calm unsettled him. Defendants were supposed to look nervous. They were supposed to shrink. She didn't. Judge Whitman cleared his throat loudly. "Miss Brown," he began, "I've reviewed your file again, and frankly, I'm unimpressed." He tapped the papers with his pen. No academic achievements worth mentioning. No stable family background. No indication that you've made productive use of your time. Each phrase landed like a verdict. The judge continued, his voice growing more confident. "This court considers patterns, and the pattern here is obvious. You are exactly where people who make poor choices end up."
One day, Alicia Brown was led from a holding cell, her chains removed as a bailiff gestured her back toward the courtroom. As she walked, she felt a shift in the air, a tension she hadn't noticed before. She saw her lawyer talking with a young woman, someone she'd never seen. The woman looked distraught, clutching a worn-out file. Alicia thought to herself, "She must be another witness for the prosecution, eager to see me put away." She watched as the woman handed the file to her lawyer, who then approached the judge. The case was dismissed. Confused, Alicia was led out of the courthouse a free woman. Her lawyer came to her side. "That was the real culprit's sister," he explained. Her conscience couldn't take it anymore. Alicia gasped, realizing with a heavy heart, "I judged her before I even knew her. Sometimes the people we think are against us are the ones fighting for our justice."
The holding room door opened with a sharp snap. Alicia Brown stood up. As the bailiff gestured her out, her chains were removed. A small illusion of trust. But nothing had changed. Walking back to the courtroom, her senses were on fire. Every footstep echoed. Something had shifted. The courthouse felt alert. Inside, Judge Whitman was already on the bench, looking annoyed. As Alicia entered, he barely glanced at her. "Back so soon?" he mumbled. The bailiff announced the case, and the room fell silent. "Miss Brown," the judge began, "I've decided to address your attitude before your case." He leaned forward. "This court doesn't just punish actions, it corrects behavior." Alicia stood tall, hands folded. "Behavior correction," she said calmly, "is not listed among the purposes of pretrial detention." A murmur went through the crowd. The judge's face flushed with anger. "Are you lecturing me?" he snapped. "No, Your Honor." The courthouse was dead quiet the next morning. It was that spooky kind of silence you get when something's gone wrong, but nobody dares to say what. News spreads fast in a place like this. From the judges down to the janitors, everyone could feel it. Something big had happened in Judge Whitman's courtroom. Nobody knew the details, but they knew enough to tread lightly. Judge Whitman himself got there super early, earlier than he had in years. He stood in front of his mirror adjusting his robe. But really, he was just staring at his own reflection. His usual confidence felt like it was wearing thin. But he just shook it off. A judge answers to the law, not to whispers and rumors. When the court started, the room filled up fast. There were the usual faces, but also two new ones in the second row. They were dressed plain, holding notebooks, just watching. Watching everything, Judge Whitman saw them right away. "Call the first case," he snapped. "State versus Brown." He looked annoyed. "Bring her in." Alicia walked in. No chains this time, just regular clothes. She looked normal, but her eyes were just as sharp as before. Judge Harold Whitman couldn't sleep. All night, he replayed the courtroom scene in his mind. The observers, the questions, and the girl. Especially the girl. There was something in her eyes. Calm, calculating, unafraid. It didn't belong to a scared teenager. By morning, his unease had turned to suspicion. Judge Whitman had built his career on controlling narratives, and if this one was turning against him, he was going to seize it back. When court resumed, the atmosphere was different. Colder, sharper. Alicia felt the shift the moment she walked in. The judge no longer underestimated her, and that was dangerous. "Miss Brown?" Judge Whitman began, his voice measured. "This court requires clarification regarding your background. You're unusually articulate for someone of your circumstances. Where did you learn to speak the way you do?" "Education is not limited by circumstance, Your Honor," Alicia replied, her voice even. The judge's lips tightened. That wasn't an answer. "It was," she said calmly. The tension in the room spiked. The recess felt endless, a sure sign something was wrong. Alicia sat alone, hands folded, a picture of calm on a hard wooden bench. But her mind was racing. Judge Whitman wasn't angry anymore, he was thinking. And a thinking man with power? That was far more dangerous. Inside his chambers, the judge paced, sleeves rolled up. An unofficial file lay open on his desk, filled with notes and observations he'd started that morning. He'd been asking questions, probing for inconsistencies, and now he was sure. Alicia Brown wasn't who she claimed to be. "She knows procedure," he muttered, staring out the window. "Limits language. No public defender teaches that." He picked up the phone. Back in the courtroom, whispers filled the air. Then the doors opened. Judge Whitman returned, his face strangely pleasant. "Miss Brown," he said, his voice even. "This court has concerns regarding the integrity of these proceedings." What did he find out? The courthouse felt like a building holding its breath. Word had leaked overnight. A stay in state versus Brown. Officially, silence. Unofficially, everyone knew Judge Harold Whitman was under review. And in the legal world, a review is never quiet. It's just the calm before the storm. In a small conference room downtown, Alicia sat, no longer a defendant. Her orange jumpsuit was gone, replaced by a tailored blazer. On the table before her lay the evidence. Transcripts, timestamps, and the digital recorder that captured every word Judge Whitman thought was beyond question. Rachel Grant, a lawyer, stood at the head of the table. "The evidence is stronger than we expected," she said, her arms crossed. Another lawyer scrolled through a tablet. "Pattern analysis confirms it. Disparate language, tone, escalation, consistently applied to young black defendants." Alicia nodded. "It's about control." Across the city, Judge Whitman stared at his screen. An email blinked. Formal notice. The exposure had begun. The room was brighter than any courtroom she'd ever seen. White walls, soft lighting, and a long table lined with microphones. The press conference hall buzzed as journalists took their seats. This time she wasn't in chains. She walked in wearing a dark blue blazer, her expression calm and unguarded. When she sat down, a ripple of surprise moved through the room. Whispers spread fast. "That's her! The girl from the courtroom!" Her companion leaned toward the microphone. "Thank you for being here. Today, we will clarify the facts surrounding the investigation into judicial misconduct. We will also introduce the inspector whose testimony started this review." Every camera shifted. "This is Alicia Brown." Alicia took a breath. "I know many of you saw me as a teenager in an orange jumpsuit. That was intentional. The justice system treats people differently based on what it assumes about them. I needed the system to show itself, without knowing it was being watched.